And once again, we are live. Welcome back to Savages in the Bronx, live from Studio 54, New Jersey, and REM Studio in Staten Island, New York, airing exclusively on Twitch and powered by StreamYard. And welcome back to the show on this Monday, September the 27th, 2021. I'm your host, Rich Rivera, and I am being joined by the one and only Tom Wospil on this episode number 24 of the show. We're back, Tom.
We're back, yeah. We had some issues, and by we, I mean you, had some issues that we got cleared up, and by, again, we, I mean you got cleared up. And I'm glad you got out of jail because it was a little scary there for a couple of days.
Yeah, and Tom did not put out any of the bail money.
No, absolutely
because
not.
He wants the solo reins of the show.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just take the show over, bring in my own co-host, someone I like a lot more than you, which could be anyone at this point. And I think we'd improve the show, really get the viewership up, but it didn't work out that way.
I'll ask you a question. If you had the chance to bring on anybody as your co-host of the show, anybody, no budget, who would be your co-host?
Oh, no budget?
No budget, man. Anybody.
No budget, but it has to still be the show. Honestly, the Caser doesn't have to do a podcast to my knowledge. So how can you not go Michael K?
Caser
Ruco has R2C2. I think the Caster could really get after it. It'd be I don't know if he would though. Actually, I might take that back because I feel like he'd still have to be contained. You need to get an ex-player. I don't know, who would you take?
It was one of those questions I just didn't have an answer to. Nick Swisher would be an interesting one.
But I feel like Swish has no idea what's going on with the Yankees.
No,
I feel like I'd be like, hey Nick, did you watch the games this weekend? He'd be like, no. And you'd be like, all right, thanks Nick, appreciate that.
Ideally, it would be an old school intentional talk, whereas Chris Rose and Kevin Millar. Now Chris Rose is on doing things with John Boy Media now. Look at him. And so that would be the thinking. The thinking would be the nerdy baseball guy and the ex-player who's a nut, Nick Swisher. That's the show.
Yeah, Swisher. Yeah, he I guess he's, he's probably the best. Or you're like Damon. Damon's also a bit of a crazy person.
That's okay. I'm stuck with a 625 hitter in softball. In Tom Wospil. So another.
You're welcome. You're welcome for winning you 2 softball games.
Tom, great debut with my Staten Island softball team when we needed a player the most. Tom was the last guy I called, and I'm glad he said yes because he had a hell of a day. So
sure
MVP
did.
Tom Wospil.
Sure.
Anyway, welcome back to the show, everybody. My apologies again. Tom alluded to it already. It's been a while since we've done any shows. All of them were on me. We had a scheduled day off on the 13th. The 20th was not scheduled. I was sick and it sucked and I couldn't do the show, but I'm back. I'm healthy and I'm ready to go and get this and wind this season down, Tom. Hell of a fucking series for our New York Yankees. And it was something else, man. 3 games in Boston. Our chances of sweeping doesn't look good. It's not favorable when you're going to the Red Sox territory when they themselves have just amount of a chance to hold on to a wild card spot as us. And here we are. We fucking swept. I hate saying we as a team. That's like a douchebag thing to do. But the Yankees swept the Red Sox in 3 games in Boston. Beautiful 3 games. A slugfest in game 1. Game 2 and game 3, laden in comebacks, charged by the man, Giancarlo Stanton, 10 RBI performance. Didn't leave a single runner on base.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it just, for the people who hate Stanton, it's like, get them back of the line. I don't want to hear from you anymore. Kick rocks, yeah. Go take a walk. Because
go scratch
something. I don't know. Go scratch him. He probably needs it. I mean, Stanton basically, we know he is a streaky hitter, right? That's how he's always been. I think we've referenced it enough times on the show. The year he won MVP with the Marlins, he had a 6-week stretch where he just was you couldn't get him out, and that's what he does. And when he's hot, he can by himself carry a team, and he carried the team to win this series. The pitching was pretty good. There's not a lot of complaints on the pitching front. Defense overall was not great. And a lot of other players didn't have good offensive series. Stanton won 3 games for the Yankees.
Yes.
He really was a big part of. He still hit a home run on Friday, and he just absolutely won them the games on Saturday and Sunday. So, gotta love it.
Wi-Fi is going in and out, so just in case I get dropped, you know why. Yes, huge series for the Yanks, huge series for Stanton. You said it best. If you're still in the John Carlos Stanton hate club, back in line for you. You can turn your Yankee fan card.
And then once he inevitably has a game where he strikes out 4 times, this is what he is. Like it's what he is.
Mm-hmm.
And you just got to appreciate when he's hot, and it's going to even out over the season. He'll have a good year. With a team that has as much firepower as they do, they shouldn't need him to win every game of the season. Listen, he can go out there and single-handedly win probably 10, 15 games himself, but with having some ridiculous offensive games. And then, Judge steps up and does the same thing. Gary steps up. Gio, Gallo. Other guys can step up and win other games, or just have it to be more of a team effort.
And I think we're giving away too much good commentary for a show that we're going to do our 9 up, 9 down later. So obviously we have a lot more positive things to touch on with Giancarlo and the rest of the New York Yankees. But yes, we'll save that a little later tonight for the 9 up, 9 down. But great stuff for the Yankees. We'll get things going at Bronx is burning. Good news here on the injury front. We got 2 activations coming this week, and it's been great. It's been great to see some of these players back. I mean, Luis Severino has looked fantastic out of the bullpen thus far, looking like vintage Louis. So, and I just love how pumped he fucking gets after a big strikeout to end an inning. It's just fantastic. But Jameson Taillon and Jonathan Loaiza set to join the Yanks as soon as tomorrow, as Taillon's going to draw the start against Toronto in the first of 3 games. Taillon's coming off I believe it was a left ankle tendon tear of sorts. And it was Loaiza's strained right rotator cuff. A little more scary for a right-handed throwing pitcher. But I'm glad to see that these 2 are going to be back just in time for the playoffs and really see this Death Star come to fruition just in time for hopefully the wild card game next Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, Loaiza, I think, is the bigger piece there. He's someone we saw when he was right this year. We talked about it, a lot throughout the season. He could have, should have been an all-star. And in a 5-game or 7-game series or a 1-game wild card, a pitcher like that, to be able to roll him out there just for a complete, if he's right, shut down the opposing batters have 0 chance inning, is huge. Taillon, excited to see him back too, but it's going to be curious to see how he fits in. We've seen enough in the past. In the playoffs, you need 3, maybe 4 starting pitchers. And at this point, we have Garrett. Obviously, he's number 1. Montgomery has to definitely get one of those spots. And, how can you not have Nestor getting starts in the playoffs? Even though he's such a natural bullpen piece, at this point, you need him in there as well. So where does Taillon really factor in? Do they try to work him out of the bullpen? Or is he really a true 4th starter in the playoffs? He's in a similar situation to what Kluber has at this point. What are we getting out of him? What's his value on a playoff team? Loaiza, we get him back the way he was before he was hurt, because he was even worn out at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. Massive.
I think you're going to see a lot of leveraging on the bullpen of guys who know that can log innings. And you mentioned Taillon, and Taillon could definitely be one of those guys, but there was a part of the season where Taillon was the best pitcher on the Yankees when Garrett Cole was out with COVID. So I have a hard time writing off Jameson Taillon there, but there's a couple of guys that I'm like, I could see either way coming out of the bullpen or starting a game. Hell, I don't even like Luis Heels, and also a viable option if need be. Would I put the pressure on the kid? Probably not. But you have a bunch of guys in that bullpen ready to throw multiple innings, and it gives the Yankees enough. It gives the Yankees an advantage where you only need 5 innings from a starting pitcher, and you just hope the rest of the way you can ride on a guy like Severino, Herman, Heel. And then your guys that have been outstanding in the bullpen this year, in Licky and in Clay Holmes and in Wandy Peralta. Their bullpen has really gotten strong for a team that has been that's been a part of the team that's been so up and down. We're going to get into it more in a little bit on 9 Up, 9 Down. Our upcoming schedule, obviously, if you don't know it, then you're not a fucking Yankee fan. I'm just going to be straight up. If you don't know who the remaining 6 games are, you're just not a fucking fan. And if you're listening, just click the red X in the corner of your the corner of your screen. Yankees play the Jays 3 games. Rays at home. Tom, what the fuck does this team need to do to get into the playoffs? 6 games. How do you see it happening? And what's going to be the key?
So, I mean, the thing we know, being Yankee fans, and you've heard enough if you watched the game recently, is the Yankees' ending schedule is harder than, mostly the Red Sox and the Jays. I'll be honest, I don't remember or know what the Mariners is. I know they're playing the A's now, and also I don't really care because I assume they're not going to make it, and whatever.
Sure,
East Coast bias, I don't care. We have the Jays and the Rays. The Red Sox somehow put some money in Manfred's pocket, and they get to play the Orioles and the Nationals, so not good for them. And the Jays play us and the Orioles again. No,
yes,
someone else.
So.
Is it the Orioles? Someone else bad.
I believe it's the
Orioles. We got the rough end of it. But the good thing is as Kay has talked about a lot. He hates the idea you can't control your own destiny because destiny is out of your control. But it's in their hands. I think you need to win 2 out of 3 in Toronto. And I think that also would say a lot about the team if they can go to Boston and Toronto and win 5 out of 6 overall. We get a Cole start in Toronto. Got to win that game. Cole stepped up big on Friday. His ending line didn't look great because he gave up the home run to Devers around that stupid pole. But other than that, Cole pitched really good. You need him to do that again, and you need to take another game off the Jays. At that point, we're up 2 on the Jays. That would put us 3 up on the Jays with 3 remaining, and that's not done, but guess you'll see. And I think also the idea that the Red Sox, I don't think they're going to win their final 6, right? Like they're going to lose a game or 2. So I don't know. I think you got to win 2 out of. I think you got to win. I think I'm going to go 4-2. I think 4-2 gets you in.
Mm-hmm.
Especially you got to get those 2 at least against Toronto. It'll be interesting to see what the Rays are going to do. The Rays are going to be lining up their starting pitching for the playoffs. They don't have to worry about the wild card game. So I think the way that works, they're going to throw what would be considered their best starters Saturday and Sunday, the last 2 games of the season. But they're not going to overextend those guys. So, they're going to pitch 4 innings, just kind of get them feeling good and get them out of there. But the Rays and Kevin Cash hate the Yankees. And they would love to rub it in their faces. They would love to eliminate the Yankees in front of – oh, no, it's Yankee Stadium. Never mind. They would like to eliminate the Yankees in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah,
so I
mean, that would be nice for the Rays. They also had a nice run-in with the Blue Jays last week. I'm sure they would not mind the Blue Jays missing the playoffs if need be. But the Rays obviously are playing for advantage, home field advantage. So the Rays have something to play for. It's not just to say, hey,
they do, but I think they
have something to play for.
I mean, I think that's kind of done at this point, though, right? Like, is
it done?
It's not done.
All right, Rays are 97-59. The Astros are 91. Oh yeah, it's done. Yeah, it's done.
They.
That's fucking done.
It's done.
Shit.
Yeah, because the Astros just got swept by the A's, right, or something, or the Mariners swept them. Something like that happened. Yeah, West Coast, I don't care. They stink. So the Rays are done. Like they have the 1 seed basically actually locked up. It's not even like basically locked up. It is locked up at this point.
Well, you could also think if they get to the World Series, you still have to compete with if the Giants or the Dodgers get in.
Yeah, I mean,
if the Giants or the Dodgers get in, they're the home team.
That's still out there. They're not going to catch either of those teams. So I guess what they're competing with the Brewers if they make the World Series. No, actually not even. The Brewers with 3 games up on them. So they're not playing for anything. There's really nothing. They're going to be the top seed in the AL, and they will most likely not be the top seed in the World Series, assuming the Giants and the Dodgers get through. And if they don't, it's going to be the Brewers, and they'll have the seed
point
over
is,
them.
It would be foolish if the Rays didn't play Rays baseball in the 3 games in New York. Why would they fucking take their foot off the gas pedal when they want to try to ride the most momentum going into the playoffs?
Yeah, I think, and even beyond that, I think Kevin Cash truly hates the Yankees. I had like a thought this weekend
Bible.
watching the Red Sox games. I don't hate the Red Sox, this Red Sox team. I really don't. I want to beat them. It's the rivalry and all that. I hate the Rays. I hate Kevin Cash. The honestly, is like the Red Sox. It's they're fun to watch. I hate the Tampa Bay Rays so much, and they hate us, and they're gonna do anything they can to keep us out of the playoffs. As long as it doesn't really, they're not gonna overextend. They're not gonna run a starter out there, with 100 pitches, in the seventh just to do it. They're not gonna do something like that, but they're gonna be putting lineups out there to spoil it for the Yankees. And if they do, they're going to dance over the field like the assholes they are.
Yeah. This is the second time this happened on an episode of Savage in the Bronx, but there's another fucking creature that has entered my room. It is a centipede. It's got a lot of legs, and it's scaring the fuck out of me.
Well, we only can hope the centipede wins.
All right. Well, anyway, coming off the Bronx is burning. Let's talk about Sincerely Allie Studio, our great sponsor of the show. As this episode, as always, is presented by Sincerely Allie Studio, and since 2020, Sincerely Allie has been producing great scented candles and wine glasses and coffee mugs and much, much more. And you can purchase all that and more, including like one of her great candles, which I have right here. This is the heavily meditated. It's a lavender, nutmeg, vanilla, and namaste candle. Namaste. But Namaste with Sincerely Allie, and go to Etsy website at the bottom of your ticker. And yeah, I'll go kill myself after that promo. But yes, for all things for self-care needs, Sincerely Allie. I'm actually
making room for the Caser to come join us.
The centipede is really fucking my day up right now. So fuck the centipede. It is not spooky season yet, bud. We're almost there though. It is September 27th. It is September the 27th. Actually, I did put up my Halloween decorations. I'm a liar. I'm a fucking fraud. I put up my Halloween decorations yesterday. They are up. We are in the mood. It is almost going to be October. Playoff baseball's around the corner. So with that being said, 9 up, 9 down. This is our last 9 up, 9 down for the season, because obviously when we get into the playoffs, it's we're going to be really covering that. But as far as the regular season or in-season episodes go, this has been our monthly segment that's really carried us throughout the year. And big thanks and shout out to my co-host Tom Wospil, who came up with the idea of 9 up, 9 down. So credit to you, bud. And let's get into it. It is our monthly rankings. So for the final time in the 2021 season, our rankings from 9 to 1 of the Yankees positions and how confident we feel. And Tom, you're going to start it off with your number 9 spot.
My number 9 spot, and pull it up here.
Catcher.
Yep, catcher. That's what I thought. I was pretty sure it was catcher. We love Gary. We do. We really do love him. He's had some rough goes recently, defensively especially. He hasn't been crazy hot offensively either as of late, which usually makes up for a lot of it. Rich is going to go attempt to kill the centipede. You. Oh, and the camera's down, and we only Rich won.
He's dead. He's so
upsetting.
Dead. There are
that's
guts
upsetting.
everywhere right now. I'm gonna clean it up later.
That's gross, but yeah, Gary in the catcher position. We got some with Higgy also. Defensively, has not been good. He hasn't been. He's not swinging a hot bat right now. He's another streaky hitter. So for all we know, he can go to Toronto and do what Stan just did in Boston, and then we'll feel a lot differently about him. But right now, I still have a ton of confidence in Gary.
Yeah, I also have Gary at my number 9 spot. And it was a tough call because we are a Gary pod. We have said it many times on this show.
Love Gary.
We support Gary. We love Gary. But unfortunately, Gary's defense is fucking hurts. It sucks. Like, the guy's still going down to his one knee. And they've talked about how much he's a hard worker. And it's like, it's the same old shit. And I feel like there's room for improvement defensively there. And if this team is want to go into a defensive route where it's like, hey, we need to focus on that, then yeah, they're going to have to move on from Gary. I love the bat. And the offense, you're not going to get any better in the American League unless your name is Salvador Perez. So calm your shit down. when it comes down to fucking everything else when it comes to Gary. Yes, the defense sucks. It can be better. But you trade the defense for the fucking homer. And yeah, he's kind of been on a skid lately. Higgy has produced a lot more known offensive moments over the last few weeks. But Gary's my guy, but right now he's in the number 9 spot.
Sometimes I was gonna say, and I just don't get the whole one knee thing with him. Oh boy, we're going for the centipede again. No, we're just adjusting this. Yeah, I don't get the one. I just don't get the one knee thing anymore. They talk about how it helps, pitch framing and all that stuff. And I know the K and I forget who was on with him, Cone or whoever, one of the games recently, and pointed out Higgy doesn't go down to one knee, and Higgy's a better framer than Gary. So is it Gary that wants to go to the one knee? Gary seems like the kind of guy, just like from what we see from him, that if a coach, the catching, coaching, whatever, says, listen, Gary, you can go with one knee, or we would like you to go back to the traditional stance, and he probably would. The Yankees still, I think, use some really stupid shit with how they manage their players. The whole thing with Stanton, or like, oh, Stanton can't play the outfield, he has to DH, and then they put him in the outfield and it was fine. I think there's some weird stuff still going on with Gary that I hope they figure out in the offseason, because it is frustrating at this point and for a while.
I'll say this, and feel free to tune me out because it's gonna sound foolish.
I tend to.
So for a lot of you who don't know, I've played fucking baseball and softball for 20 years. I've been a catcher for about 15 of those years. Anytime I wanted to go to a one knee position, it's because my knees were bothering me and I wanted to have better leverage. I kind of think, is there maybe an eternal issue with him that maybe he's keeping under wraps? Maybe his knees aren't as great. I don't know. There has to be more to it than just, snapping him out of like, hey, stop being in that certain position.
Yeah, I don't know. I do agree. There's something more to it, whether if it's some dumbass analytics that they're running with, or there is some kind of injury that he is helping nurse along with the one knee, but something needs to change.
Moving on, number 8, I have the shortstop position. It is a position that has stayed towards the bottom half of the 9 up, 9 down since we started this segment all the way back in April or March rather. And shortstop, and this time we're not even profiling Gleyber Torres, we're profiling Gio Urshela for the most part. Gio is starting to come around a little bit with a bat. Do I feel as exuberantly confident at him at shortstop than I do at him at third base? Not really. He seems to hold down the position. Definitely better than Gleyber Torres. It is a temporary fix. But do I feel like super confident with him being there? Not really. It's like a weird paradox.
Yeah, I have a shortstop in the same position as you do. I have now it's Gio at short. Yeah, I mean, defensively, the ball's gonna be hit to him. He's gonna make the play, which you appreciate. It's what we had for so many years with Jeter. The ball's hit to Jeter. If he can get to it, that's gonna be an out. He's gonna make the play. He doesn't really have the best athleticism in the world. We see he can't really run at this point. So anything that's going to be in the hole or he's going to have to really go for, he's probably not going to get to. Defensively, I don't have any problems with him, but he has been streaky and, to not good with the bat this year. And now, we'll talk about second base, obviously, at some point. It's very interesting getting ahead of ourselves. Like, what did they do in the offseason with the shortstop position?
Mm-hmm.
Is Gleyber now going to be the second baseman? Where does that land DJ, and then where does that land Gio, and then who plays short? Because Gio Urshela he can't be your short. He's not a shortstop. No. He can't be your shortstop for 150, 140 games next year.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work.
You have it's crazy just to see how many, and it was so weird doing this 9 up, 9 down because you have players that are not in their primary position to help Gleyber Torres get comfortable at playing baseball. It's so wild. Tom, your number 7 spot.
My number 7 spot, I have first base. Again, this is primarily Anthony Rizzo. Defensively, no issues with him at all. He plays a great first base. He had made some more huge picks in Boston. There was it Friday? There was a ball that hit down the line at first that I feel like he should have gotten, especially someone of his caliber, but it was a tough play. Offensively, he's been someone although he did have a big double last night, he's had some big hits. The bat has been not great as of late. And I don't know. I have it down here, but I'll be honest. My like 5 through 7 are kind of toss up. I feel like they're all just the same ranking for me.
I'll have to agree to that point. There's a lot of positions where it was like not really sure if it belongs in that spot, but it's not like outside of like a couple, outside of maybe for me, the top 3. There's a lot of they can go there, they can go there. It is a mix up between the 4 through 9. It's not like this one guy. Like I was just talking positively about Gary Sanchez, given like one hiccup that's like holding him back from being higher on this list. But the Yankees have played overall better baseball over the last couple of weeks, so I can't fully knock every position. But there are certain ones that are better than others, obviously, and that's why we have this segment. All right, so you have first base at 7. I have second base at 7, and obviously for second base, it is Gleyber Torres at this rate. And Gleyber has been swinging a better bat. He definitely looks a little more comfortable at second base. He has made some bad plays there as well, though. There's still some simple plays he's making. I think just overall, Gleyber might just not be a good defensive ball player. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Yeah, I know. I noticed something. I noticed there was a ball last night. It was hit the second that he was able to take a step back, let it take an extra hop, field it a little cleaner, a little easier, and make the throw the first. And I think that's the kind of play that has hurt him so bad at short. At short, you can't let it take an extra hop. The throw's too long. And seeing it, I'm like, oh, wow, he does look so much better at second base.
Yes.
Because you can take your time. You can let more things happen at second. But I have second base in a close ranking to this, and like I said, I could easily have it where you do because I just feel like it's a lot of this area, but these 3 especially, probably like 4 and 8 to 5 are kind of all the same to me.
Your number 6.
My number 6 is third base.
Okay.
So again, this is primarily DJ LeMahieu.
Name for me.
Again, he's been hitting feeling a little bit better with him at the plate. He hit a big hit in the Friday game, right? He had like a nice one of those like hits we saw for the last couple of years, a nice line drive to right field, very Jeter-like hit, and you're just like, there he is. There's DJ. Defensively, kind of a mixed bag. He made some incredible plays at third in Boston, and then he dropped a pop fly or a infield pop up. A lot of guys drop pop ups, so I don't know if there's something going on in Boston with the wind or something, but I mean, you got to catch that ball.
That was a fucking weird inning. You had 3 guys who are defensively above average at their position drop 3 routine 3 pop-ups rather.
Yeah.
In LeMahieu, Gallo, and Bobby Dahlbeck.
Yeah, and to bring it back to our softball playing, the game I went to play with Rich, there was crazy amount of wind, and we dropped a lot of pop flies.
Yes, we did.
But we're not major leaguers. No. And some of those were very difficult. And
we pay to play. We don't get paid.
And we're playing without a stadium around us, which knocks the wind down. We were playing on the ocean essentially. So yeah, it was pretty difficult. But you got to make those plays, DJ. What are you doing?
That'll be the third and last time we mentioned softball on the Savage of the Bronx, but we're hyped up. It's softball season as well over here. But yeah, so third base, it's 6 for me as well. So I would agree with you there. Number 5, I have the bullpen. And that's been an improvement because I believe I had the bullpen and the number 9 spot back to back for the last 2 months because of how non-reliable they were. But again, a lot of arms that I just mentioned before in the opener. You have Luis Severino back in the mix coming out of the bullpen. Domingo Germán coming out of the bullpen, lightning arm. Chad Green, I think, is settling more. I think he's starting to get that rest he's needed, and he's pitching a lot better in high leverage spots. I love what Wandy Peralta's been doing. My favorite motherfucker in that bullpen is Clay Holmes. And for a guy who was a very under the radar trade for the Yankees at the deadline, actually probably got more flack than anything because a lot of the Yankee fans, including Dan Checkley, a guest on our show, spotlighted and loved Hoy Park, who's with the Pirates now. In our AAA system, he was a top batting leader in AAA. and he was sent in that trade for Holmes. And honestly, I'd do that trade fucking 100 times over. Clay Holmes has been great in that spot and a great ground ball picture. And it seems like Chapman's frustrating. Chapman's just fucking frustrating because he'll have his moments where it's just, here we go. And then you'll have fucking games like last night where he just looks, oh, okay, he looks brilliant.
Yeah, I have the bullpen quite a lot higher, so I'll get into a little bit more of them later. But yeah, the bullpen is interesting, and I'll throw some scenarios out there when we kind of get to mine. I had second base here, so this is where I had Glaber. Again, you can mix them up with anything else, in this kind of area, because I feel better about him defensively there, and he is starting to hit a little bit more. And I don't know, like Glaber still is he's someone, if we're talking about the guys who we had in this area, who have been Yankees. Talk about Gio. We talk about DJ, and we talk about someone else. No, is that it? Yeah, basically. But we've seen Glaber at a level. I mean, granted, we saw DJ at very high levels too, but we've seen Glaber at some incredibly high levels, and you wonder if getting back to second, getting more comfortable, he can start seeing that again. I think that's why I have it a little higher than those other guys.
All right. Your number 4 spot, Tom.
Number 4 spot, I have the outfield. I think you as well. No,
I do not.
No, you do not have the outfield number 4.
Not even close.
Not even close. Okay. Because listen, you have Judge, who overall is the best player on the Yankees. He's been clutch all year. Plays really good defensively. But you also have Gallo out there, who, when he's hot, again, he's the guy. When he's hot, you feel great about him, but he hasn't been hot, so you don't feel as great. He made some really bad plays in the field in Boston. He dropped that pop out. He threw home on that one play. He caught at the monster, which allowed a runner to get the second, which he had no chance of throwing the runner at home.
Yeah,
the one the second. And that's just a bad play by Gallo. Mm-hmm. Someone's supposed to be good defensively. I love Brett Gardner, but and also at some point, the outfield's also tough because I'm kind of putting Stanton as still. I think of him more in the DH position, so I'm not really putting a lot of any kind of Stanton feelings in the outfield, although he does play the outfield too. This is one a little tough about the 9 up, 9 down. But if I'm thinking Gardner, Gallo, and Judge, that gets him at the 4 spot for me.
All right. And I'll cover the outfield a little later. My number 4 spot is the spot you had mentioned in your number 7 is first base. And that was a tough call because offensively altogether, Rizzo and Voit haven't really done as much over the last couple of weeks. But defensively, I still feel great with Rizzo there. He's a Gold Glove first baseman for a reason. Multiple-time Gold Glove first baseman for a reason. And I feel confident with him making solid plays. You had mentioned a gap that he had over the weekend, but still 9 times out of 10, I feel confident with the guy being there. And more to it is not just like what he gives from a bat and field standpoint. Rizzo's a fucking leader. And having that personality in the dugout is huge. I mean, when Stan hit that, was it the Grand Slam? It might have been both. Fuck it. But he was the first guy who was just going nuts in that dugout. Right?
Listen, Rugni and Odor would have a word with you at this point. Yeah. Also, change my mind again. I want Rugi Odor to be my co-host. Current player would be incredible. Love Rugi.
Would need subtitles, but that's okay. We can
don't care. I'll learn Spanish and I'll do the show with him. Love him.
I Tom talk Spanish.
See,
love it.
I listen. It's tough because again, he does bring that leadership. I think there's still part of me, and this isn't necessarily fair for 9 up, 9 down. That is he going to be back next year? Probably not. I don't know if they're going to resign him again. It looks like right now they're going to spend big money at shortstop. Was that going to allow them to resign Rizzo, which Rizzo gets signed for? And it's just there's part of me that wonders, if he's going to be fully invested in the team. And
Gleyber Torres is clearly not going to be the plan at shortstop next year. So
no.
You would have to think they're not going to re-sign Rizzo. They're going to move on from Voit, and DJ's playing first base next year for the Yankees.
Oh, I don't love that.
It's the move that they have to make, unless they move on from Urshela and find Urshela a new home. which I think it would be foolish considering how cheap Urshela is to be a starting third baseman, and outside of Matt Chapman, the best defensive third baseman in the league.
Yeah, I don't know, because like first baseman, maybe it's just like been a baseball fan for however many years. I want my first baseman to they would hit 40 homers, and DJ LeMahieu has like 9 this year. Like I need some pop out of first base, and then especially if Glaber's not going to go back to having the power he had. Who it depends, I guess, who you sign as a shortstop, but I do worry about. I want some more pop there. I'd rather almost have DJ at. It's gonna be weird because I'd rather DJ at third, and I'd rather than Voit at first at that point. Give me the
I'm
power.
sorry, but your pop, you have the pop. Your pop is in the outfield and a designated hitter, so it's okay to have DJ LeMahieu, who finished in the top 3 MVP voting last year, as a first baseman. It's time to change the makeup of this team, Tom. And yeah, I think a guy like a Corey Seager would be nice to have at shortstop, who is not all about the power. He'd fit well at Yankee Stadium, granted, but he's a guy who could play the position, a guy who's been to the World Series, who's won the World Series, and a good leader to have in that infield. And I think that'd be a great fit for this team. And then obviously down the line, you'll figure it out, because then you have Volpe coming up the pipeline, and as well Peraza coming up the pipeline. Not the conversation to have. We have plenty of offseason to talk about it, but yes.
It's going to be an interesting offseason.
My little tangent, and it's going to be an interesting offseason. Number 3, what do you got, Thomas?
I got the starting rotation, number 3, and
me too.
A lot of that, honestly, is thinking about a wild card game in the playoffs at this point, because I think it's how we're feeling for confidence-wise going into the playoffs at this point. If they, if they can hold on and get there, I said the starting rotation in the playoffs, you really need 3, maybe 4 guys, and I feel really good with at least Cole, Montgomery, and Nestor. And then I guess we'll see what Tyone has when he comes back. Maybe he can flash the way he was. If it ends up being Kluber, if Herman looks like he's more slated for the bullpen. But those 3, I feel when those guys are on the mound, I feel good that the Yankees are going to win. I feel like we have, unless we're going up against a real stud pitcher, I feel like at the very least we are in the game.
Yes.
They'll keep us in it. So I got the starting rotation number 3.
I feel good with the rotation. As mentioned before, you have a lot of guys in this team that can log in a bunch of innings, even if they're not starting the game. So if a guy like a Montgomery gets the 5 innings, that could be enough. That could be enough to win a game and be able to hand off the ball to the next guy that you feel confident that can give you 2 innings and then get you to your 1 inning high leverage guys. So I feel good about the starting rotation right now as it stands. Is it a fucking unbelievable, like pound for pound, phenomenal starting rotation? No, it's not the Dodgers rotation. No. And I'm not saying that, but that rotation I think can compete with fucking Tampa. That rotation can compete with Houston. That rotation, and maybe not so much the White Sox. The White Sox are pretty outstanding from 1 through 5 in their rotation, but it's a viable rotation, and they can win a lot of games. And listen, look at 2009. The 2009 Yankees won with 3 starting pitchers.
Yeah.
And granted, 3 very reliable ones at the time, but I digress. Number 2, I have designated hitter spot. The designated hitter spot, this is Giancarlo Stanton the whole way. Love what Stanton's been doing. And I'm going to talk more on him because I'm cheating. I'm including him in that outfield mix as well. Love what he's been doing. And I can't talk more positively about what the guy and how he's kind of given the big middle finger to the haters on Twitter and on WFAN. And we're finally seeing what the Twin Towers, Judge and Stanton, look like in a fucking almost a full season. Stan had a small stint on the IL. Judge had the COVID stint. But other than those 2 stints, they've been together for most of this year, and they've kept things together. And it's wild to think that in a year that the Yankees have kept those 2 together healthy on the field with a perennial Cy Young candidate, and it's amazing to think that maybe if the things don't go the right way for the Yankees in the next 6 games, that they may not make the playoffs and be a 4th place team in the American League East. It's crazy to think that.
We're going to have a very interesting show next Monday. We'll know at that point, obviously, if the Yankees made the playoffs. If they did, it'll be the wild card game. I think will be Tuesday. So we'll be having a big preview of that game.
Hell yeah.
But let's say, it's not, I don't want to put ourselves in this mindset, but we go down the route where the Yankees miss the playoffs. And if they miss the playoffs at this point, they're going to miss it by a game or 2. Yeah. And there are a handful more of just incredible heartbreaking losses that they had throughout the year. 2 games against Houston, the Angels game, a couple Red Sox games, the Twins game where Chapman gave up the home. There's been so many unbelievable losses that they've had that it's going to hurt if they don't make it. And but if they would have won, I mean, I would love to go back and think of how many heartbreaking, horrible losses they've had. It feels like there's probably been close to 10 of them that are at least disappointing to extremely heartbreaking. If you win 5 of them, wild card's over. We would have the number 1 wild card. We'd be talking about how let's go sweep the Rays. Let's go win this division.
Right.
And that's the difference at this point of the season.
Right, and we're going off the segment, but obviously the Stanton Judge combination had me thinking of the fact that they're this close and they may still not make it. And I also look back, the Yankees may get edged out, but if things go the worst way, the Yankees might get edged out that second wild card game by the Blue Jays. The Yankees lost opening day to the fucking Blue Jays. So to tell me it's a 162 game season, you never know what's gonna happen. Day 1 impact could easily impact this team from not making the fucking playoffs.
Yeah, and it's been so much of the Yankees thing of the last few years with the idea of we need to rest guys. They need to be ready for October. We can't have Stanton play the outfield. We can't have Judge can only play 6 games in a row. Then he has to have a game off. Those games all count. Games in April and May count. And the way that they've had some lineups, we've looked at some lineups this year, and you're just like, what are we doing? We're just giving games away. And it could come back to bite them, and honestly has already, because at this point, if they just would have won some of those games, they could just coast into the playoffs and not have to put all this stress on them the last week of the season, last month of the season, how it's been. So
baseball's a long season. It actually still wild to think that Jay Bruce was on the 2021 Yankees. I mean,
sure was.
That's how long the season's been. Anyway, let's get back onto it. All right, so I had DH at number 2. Tom, at number 2, who do you have?
I have the bullpen at number 2. And
all right.
Let me paint some pictures for you again. Well, let's talk what the Yankees look like in a potential playoff game. If that potential playoff game is started by Garrett Cole, what do we want? We want 7 innings out of Cole, right? That's what you can expect. You're going to ride him 110, 115 pitches, go give us 7 innings, 1 run, strike out 12 assholes on the other team. And then where does that leave you? It brings you into the bullpen. Chapman is going to probably be closing. At that point, you need just 1 inning from any of your setup guys, depending who you feel at the time. You want Green. You want, if Loaiza looks good, you want Holmes. You want Litke. You want Wandy. There's your Cole games. Now in your Nestor and Montgomery games, if you tell me they give me 5 innings, 1 run, I'm like, we're good. We don't need any more out of you. You know why we don't need any more out of you? Because we can get 2 innings from either Michael King or Severino. Interchangeable.
That's a great name you just mentioned.
So if Montgomery, let's say Montgomery gets the in a potential, let's just get so excited, ALDS, Cole would have been burned. So Montgomery pitches game 1. Montgomery gives you 5 innings, and then Severino gives you 2. That gets you to 7. And then it's who do you want to pitch the 8th?
And then you turn the ball over to Andrew Heaney.
Then you got, hey, did you feel good then if Loaiza's looking good, Green's looking good? If it's righty lefty, you got Litke and Wandy. You got those 4 options for the 8th, and then you got Chapman. And then you got, game 2 where you got Nestor on the mound. He gives you 5 more innings, 1 run. Then what do? You give the ball to Mike King for 2 innings. Yes. And then you can get the ball to Clay Holmes or one of the other guys who didn't pitch yesterday. And then you got Chapman. Or honestly, in the playoffs, I think if they need to move away from Chapman, they will. I think this team, if these guys are pitching well, especially, it's why it's so important if Loaiza looks good. with the starting rotation we have that can give you at least 5 or 6 innings, you got guys who can just empty the tank, and it shouldn't be a situation which we've seen recently where it's only 3 or 4 guys you trust. Right now, I think you could say, again, Chapman is, we talk about, he can be frustrating, and Green has been a little up and down. But if we got Loizaga, Litke, Peralta, Holmes, King, Severino, you could realistically pitch them, let them just throw as hard as they want, knowing they won't have to pitch the next day. They're going to have the other side, the A squad and the B squad and the bullpen can go out, get you 3-4 innings, and then the next guys come in the next day.
It's wild how much depth they have there, and I kind of regret putting the bullpen as low as I did. I'm looking at the roster, and I'm like, who would be a very surprising snub, but it's a snub that I think I can absolutely see them making next week. If they make the playoffs, Corey Kluber. I don't see Corey Kluber making that roster.
No, he hasn't pitched great. He's not a guy. When you think about people who translate to the bullpen, it's people who have big arms, can throw hard, and have like a nasty secondary pitch.
Right.
Kluber isn't that guy. Severino is that guy. Herman, yes. I didn't mention him.
King is that guy.
King is that guy. Loizaga came up as a starter. He's that guy. Mm-hmm. I think you're gonna have a situation where, Kluber, he's not gonna be on a DS roster because you don't need 5 starters. You need 3 really, and then you're just gonna load up on the bullpen. You're gonna have Albert Abreu, who just got optioned because for some reason they kept Heaney on the roster. Again, Yankees, the stupid the things they do with the roster.
They're not giving up. But Abreu traded for him.
They haven't. But Abreu is another guy who could be a stud in the playoffs and give you something. That it can be scary. And the thing that you always worry about in the playoffs in a series is what happens when they see Chad Green for a third time, when they see Loizaga for a third time. With this bullpen, with this depth, you don't need to do that. You can see them maybe twice because they have so many high leverage guys who can go out there, empty the tank, and then be off.
Tom, I'm going to make a proposal to you live on the show right here in front of our one viewer on Twitch. Next week on the show, if the Yankees crack a playoff spot, we should try to predict what the roster is going to be for the playoffs, at least for the wild card game.
The wild card roster is a weird roster. You have to.
I know it's going to be weird because you're going to take off some starting pitchers. Obviously.
You took off a lot of starting pitchers. You're only going to have Cole, and you're going to have one other starter in case Cole just doesn't have it. Cole gets out there and he literally or figuratively shits himself.
Yes.
So you're only going to have Cole and Nestor, Cole and Tyone. That's all you're going to have. So you're going to have some guys in the bullpen. Heel should be on that roster. Guys like that. Cause what the hell,
right. That's a good name too.
You're going to probably a playoff, a wild card game roster. You're going to have a Tyler Wade. You're going to have probably an Estevan Florio. You're going to have guys who can run, play some defense, because that's all they're going to be used for. It's just one game and you reset the roster for the DS. It's a wild card roster is a very interesting setup that we can absolutely look at. Hopefully next Monday.
Garrett Cole takes a shit on the field, a breakdown. We don't want to see that though. All right, number 1 spots. I have the outfield, and I'm cheating, and I'm including Stanton in this mix because
I think that's fair.
Can be a part of the outfield mix. It's not
absolutely
it's not
can and should be.
Aaron Judge, I mentioned him leading off, and I don't. If it's not for fucking Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Shohei Ohtani, Judge is in the MVP conversation as well.
He's gonna get votes. He's
definitely gonna get votes.
He should be the 3rd leading vote getter.
That's
4th, maybe
100%. Absolutely. And Gardner, and I've been the one guy all year long who is fucking shit on Brett Gardner. But I tell you what, it was at bats like Brett Gardner's at bat last night or 2 nights ago. I forgot. Both of the games have like similar outcomes, so I'm just like, all right. They're mixed up for me now. Gardner's at bat that led to the Stanton grand slam. I don't know if any other Yankee on this team would have grinded that much for that.
Rizzo's the only one.
He's the only one who would have done that. So I have to tip my cap to Brett Gardner. And I give
He's the
Gardner,
guard
Gallo,
dog.
Judge, and Stanton the outfield spot at the number 1 spot of my 9 up, 9 down back-to-back months.
I think that's fair. And I think it's absolutely fair to include Stanton in there because he's been playing a lot more outfield. And yeah. In my mind, I know I alluded to a few times, the rankings are really like 1 to 4 drop off.
Yes.
And then 5 to 9. Like
right.
1 to 4, I could mix up a lot of those things. I have the DH number 1, and that's because I don't know how you can't not love what Stan is giving you right now.
That's you fully profiling Stan as the guy.
And that's, but that's what he's, generally what he's going to, I don't know. It's going to be interesting what they're going to do with him in the playoffs. Remember last year in the playoffs, he did his best to drag the Yankees' ass to the ALCS. He had a home run in every game. He was unstoppable, and he looks like he's that bad man again. I'm here for it.
And we are here for it as well. So our final 9 up, 9 down rankings for the 2021 season. And goddamn, the longest 9 up, 9 down we've done thus far. Jesus Christ.
It's a big week.
That was like a 30-minute segment right there. Tom from 9 to 1 has catcher, shortstop, first base, third base, second base, the outfield, starting rotation, the bullpen, and the DH up from his number 3 rank from last month. I have from 9 to 1, catcher, shortstop, second base, third base, the bullpen, first base, starting rotation, DH, and the outfield still retaining my number 1 spot on my power rankings. And that's it. 9 up, 9 down for the 2021 season and for Savages and Bronx in 2021. A good segment, Tom.
I'll be honest. I hope we're doing another one of these in a month because I hope that the Yankees are still playing and we're talking about who do we feel best going into the World Series, because that's what we'd be talking about if we do another 9 up, 9 down.
You know what?
2021
and if they get there,
season.
If they get there, Tom, we will do another one postseason edition. I promise you that. Make sure to follow us on YouTube or like and subscribe to us on YouTube, where we have full episodes and short clips like the Ringer's own John Trzaskowski, who had joined us all the way back in the very first guest episode we had, episode number 3, and he previewed the 2021 Yankees and his expectations, including the Yankees having no choice but to make the World Series, which obviously this team is kind of like disappointed in that sense because they're not even going to, they're barely scratching it into the playoffs as is, if they even make it. So,
JJ was in the house over the weekend. Not my house. He was in Boston. It'd be cool if JJ was here, but he was there. He was.
Actually, a fun story. I have a mutual buddy that actually hooked me up with the JJ contact for the show, and JJ was sending him live videos of the Stan home runs from the weekend. And I was
at a wedding Saturday night. I was at parts of the wedding. I just would sit down and watch it again on my phone. I'm like, let me just watch it again. There's a wedding going on. Drinks are flowing. People are dancing. There's fried Oreos. And I'm just like, okay, for the 75th time, let me just watch Stanton absolutely put a ball into goddamn orbit. Probably why your internet isn't working today is Stanton's home run is just messing with satellites at this point.
I fucking love him. I watched that Grand Slam video maybe 30 times. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to stop watching this video. And then he hits the fucking 3-run home run yesterday. And now I've watched that like nonstop now because that shot over the fucking national car rental sign probably broke a rental car outside of Lansdowne Street.
We got a Santa Maria. I felt like I was playing the show.
Santa Maria. Oh, yeah. It definitely felt like Diamond Dynasty and hearing Matty V. By the way, off topic, Matty V, my favorite fucking play-by-play man in the game. I actually love Matty V. I think he's fantastic at what he does.
I don't think I'm going there. I do like him, but he's good.
You're biased towards the case there.
No, I'm not. I do like the K-Star. The K-Star, there's other guys that I personally, I love.
Gary Cohen.
Yeah, fine, whatever. I think the Mets broadcast booth is overrated, but whatever. I've watched more Mets games than most other Yankee fans because I'm married to a Mets fan. I've watched a lot of them, and I think they're overrated.
Sure.
Personally, I'm a big John Miller guy. When John Miller was
I love John Miller.
John Miller, Sunday Night Baseball, him and Joe Morgan was just, it was the best. He's still doing it. I enjoy Gary Thorne. Gary Thorne actually called some Mets
that's
games
another
this
great
year.
name.
I really enjoy him. Listening to him as well. But yeah. Also, I don't hate Joe Buck, so people can grow up.
Neither.
Joe Buck does
Me
a really
neither.
good. Joe Buck does a good job, and there is no one, probably or especially for if you say baseball and football, who make a moment feel bigger than a good Joe Buck call. I think he does a great job, and if you don't like him,
Back
you
at
can
the
kick rocks.
wall. I mean,
It's
the Joe
great.
Buck call.
Joe Buck's
It's
great.
great. And,
Listen to his call at the Field of Dreams game. He did such a great
it's great.
job
Yeah.
of just like he doesn't talk too much. He lets the moment play out. He doesn't hate your team. He's great. I love Joe Buck.
The one that I actually will point Joe Buck haters to would be last year in the World Series. Him calling the Brett Phillips walk-off with Randy Arozarena stumbling around the plate and then end up scoring. And for the fact that Buck had to follow that play, because there were like 5 different things happening in that play. And he called everything beautifully and to a T. And I respect the guy. As much hate as he gets, people say, oh, he's too monotonic, he's too boring. He's a great baseball announcer, and he's gonna be a Hall of Famer, just like his daddy. So there's that. All right. Player to be named later. It's been a while since we've done this, Tom. We're going to try to stump each other with naming off a random Yankee based on a few hints. Tom, will get you started with mine. Your guy played 1 season with the Yankees in 2008.
2008. Derek Jeter.
No. Jeter played a lot of seasons.
But he did play in 2008.
He did play in 2008.
So, right. I don't know. Let's give some more. Let's
see.
Position.
All right, so this player wore the number 12.
Or the number 12. Randy Velarde. I think that's older.
In 2008, Randy Velarde. All right, now I'll give you a little more. He wore the number 12. He was acquired in a mid-season trade from a team that he had spent 5 years with, also that played in the American League. Played in the American League Central, that is.
American League Central.
So an American League Central team that he spent 5 years with, 5 good years with, traded to the Yankees in 2008.
As a position player, I imagine. I feel like 12 is not much of a starting pitcher or relief pitcher's number.
You would be correct, yes. He's a position player.
Would be correct. Ooh, 2008 Yankees.
My next clue could be a giveaway, but
let's
also might not be a giveaway.
Let's see.
Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer. Oh God, it's a 1-year guy.
2008 significant for being the final season at the old Yankee Stadium. But it's actually funny enough because this guy was not in the last lineup in the old Yankee Stadium.
It's not in the lineup.
His backup hit the last home run at the old Yankee Stadium.
The last home run that hit in the Yankee Stadium was Posada, right? Because he also hit the first one. Okay, he hit the first one in the new stadium.
No. Yes, that's correct. Posada hit the
first
first one.
For some reason, I thought he hit both. I don't know. I'm stumped.
Jose Molina hit the last home run in the old Yankee Stadium.
You say Jose Molina is a Hall of Famer?
Jose Molina is a catcher. I said the backup to this player hit the last home run in the old Yankee Stadium.
Oh, so okay. Is it Pudge then?
Pudge, Ivan Rodriguez.
Okay. Because then I was like, wait a minute. I'm like Posada would have been the catch. Okay, I got myself.
Ivan Rodriguez is my guy. 13-time Gold Glover, 14-time All-Star. Actually, one of my favorite players. In his heyday, who was a non-Yankee at the time, I would say like mid-2000s. He was one of my favorite players in the game. And plus, when I was trying to be a catcher and playing the position, he's a guy that I looked up to position-wise, a catcher. So Ivan Rodriguez is my guy.
Pudge. Recent Diamond Dynasty card.
Yes, he is.
Team Affinity.
Team Affinity Season 4. All right, Tom, who do you got for me?
I got a player from the 2004 New York Yankees. Only season with the team.
John Olerud.
Okay, the answer was John Olerud. So.
Team Affinity Season 4, baby.
That's
He's at the Blue Jays. But
that's true.
Johnny, all right, so can I be honest? I
Sure.
actually considered Johnny Olerud too for this one, but Pudge I felt like was a good one to go with because the Hall of Fame thing would have thrown things off.
Yeah, no, I was going with John Olerud. I thought of him because my clue was going to be he was referenced on the broadcast last night. A-Rod, and I had forgotten A-Rod had said that he got hurt. I'm like, holy shit, I forgot John Olerud was a Yankee. And then I was like, this would be a good player for player name later. Yep, John Olerud, another Team Affinity 4 card.
We gotta get out of the house.
I don't like his card as much as like Pudge card. I actually really enjoy the Pudge card. Might be on my team for a while. Olerud wasn't really doing it for me. Didn't like it.
No, way too many left-handed hitting first basemen in Diamond Dynasty. Like I can't put Olerud over Poppy or who did I just get recently to play? He's not lefty, but Frank Thomas. I got Frank Thomas in there now. It's wild.
I love the Prince Fielder card.
Enough of the DD teams. It's already 9:00, so this is the first time we've gone over the 9:00 hour with our show. So we're going to try to wrap this up real quickly, but make sure to follow us on Twitter at Savages Bronx. You can follow Tom at
Wospil54.
And you can follow me at Rich J. Rivera. We're going to finish things off with a quick announcement on the future of our program. Obviously, the season's coming to the regular season coming to an end. So you're probably asking yourselves at home, all right, so what do you guys do during the off season? Because there's not going to be much Yankee baseball to talk about, obviously.
MLB The Show.
We're going to play MLB The Show. We'll talk about the show. We'll turn the show into MLB The Show. We'll talk about just Diamond Dynasty here on Savages. So we're obviously going to continue the show, but we're not going to have the show as much. We do the weekly episodic show. We're going to, probably keep that down to a minimum. So Tom and I decided that we'll roll out some select dates that we'll announce to you on Twitter and let you know over the off season of when those shows are going to be. But for now, we're going to keep with the weekly Monday show up until the Yankees' last game of the season. So including the playoffs. So it could very well happen next Sunday. So next Sunday, the Yankees may not make the playoffs, and that's their final game. And then this Monday is basically our last in-season show. Hopefully not. Hopefully they make it past there. Hopefully our last weekly episodic show is after the last game of the World Series that the Yankees win, and Tom and I go get fucking drunk on fucking 6th Ave and have a great time at the parade.
Absolutely. I did spend the night before the 09 parade in Staten Island, and I would probably want to do it again. Yeah, I did. I went to the parade in Staten Island. Took the ferry.
Came over.
Nah, well, I don't know where. I don't think I was that close to you. I don't know where I was.
Nor did you know me for 11 of those years.
No.
Of the last 13.
Too.
Jesus. So anyway, yeah. So we're obviously going to continue the show, but not weekly. Following the last game of the season. So we'll let you guys know when we do some shows. We'll most likely do a once a month show to kind of like just keep with the Yankees news during the off season. We'll have a show around the winter meetings to keep up with the big trades and signings then. And then most likely, just like this past year, the first season of the show, March 22, we'll go back to our weekly shows. So we'll keep you guys all posted. So make sure to stay tuned to our shows. I'll keep you guys more informed on it next Monday. There's going to be a guaranteed show next Monday regardless. And then after that, we'll see what happens. But so again, our last in-season weekly show will happen after the last game of the Yankees season, whether it happens next Sunday or sometime in the playoffs.
And we'll see. Hopefully you got to hope at least, they get the wild card game. At this point, if they don't, it's pretty big disappointment. Win that game, and then you listen. You got a DS, and then you're gonna definitely have some more shows. So let's hope the Yankees can do it for us.
An hour and 5 minutes on Savages in the Bronx. We didn't even have a fucking guest today, and really good conversation. That's what happens when you have a 2-week hiatus. Sometimes the show goes a little longer than you expect. Well, it went about a half hour longer than I expected it to. So, but that's okay. Tom, thank you very much for being a great co-host as always. Thanks again for subbing for the softball team last week. Big wins. And thanks to our supporters on Twitter and on Twitch. We'll see you here next Monday, 8 p.m. on Twitch, as always, 8 p.m. Eastern time. That is. Good luck to our favorite team that we do this podcast on, the New York Yankees. And thank you to the New York Yankees for inspiring our podcast, because without the New York Yankees, there would be no Savages in the Bronx, obviously. So good luck to our favorite team for these next 6 games. Hopefully we will see them next Tuesday. But for now, we'll see you next Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern time on Twitch. Take care.